Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about how to insert CSS into an HTML document. This video is actually part of a series. It's the third of a series on CSS. The first two were about an introduction to understanding what CSS is. The second was about CSS syntax. And so now we're going to see with this third video how we can actually start using CSS inside an HTML document. So there are three ways basically to insert CSS. The first is through an external style sheet. You can also insert CSS through an internal style sheet. And finally, you can add CSS inline. The external style sheet is the most, I guess, common way to insert CSS. Most of the time, your CSS is in a separate document. This helps the organization of your website because it really separates the two. Whenever possible, go for an external style sheet and use the two other ways only when when you thought about trying to use an external style sheet and really seemed to make more sense not to use it. So all you have to do to link an external style sheet to a document, to an HTML document, is add this line within the head tags with the link to your style sheet file. When you're writing a style sheet, so just the proper format of a style sheet is just a text document. The extension is .css, that's important. And within it, you just write your CSS directly. You don't need and you mustn't put any HTML tags within that CSS file. So the second way to add CSS to a document is through an internal style sheet. Within your HTML document, you can open a style tag, and within that style tag, put some CSS. In my opinion, that's not really recommended. It's definitely not something that you should be using most of the time. But there are some cases where it just makes more sense to use an internal style sheet. But whenever you must have a good reason, I guess, to be using an internal style sheet. And if you don't, try using an external one. Another reason why you would want to have an external style sheet is that you'll be able to reuse that style sheet elsewhere. If you write the CSS directly inside your document, then it will only concern the HTML inside the document. And the day you want to reuse that style elsewhere, you'll either have to rewrite the same thing over again, which is not a good idea because it's going to be harder to maintain. Or you can also, of course, just change your document within to rip out the CSS and put in an external style sheet. But in that case, you might as well have done that in the first place, right? So the third and final way to insert CSS is inline. So you can write directly within tag. You open a style and you start writing the style in it. Okay, that works. It has to be used also with precaution, even more than the internal style sheet, because when you're writing inline CSS, you're basically adding a lot of text inside the HTML, so you're not making your HTML any easier to read. So you basically have to have a really good reason to be doing that. In some circumstances, it's you just need one specific element of style to change. So you would write it inline, or you can't put, for example, an external style sheet for some reason, and then you would use inline CSS. But what I want you to remember from this video is really that if you start doing CSS, and even if it's a small website, even if it's something that's not, it's not a business, you're just doing your own website, you really want to be doing things with an external style sheet. It's just cleaner that way. Okay, well, thanks for watching this video, and I will hope to see you soon for another CSS video.